Hi guys, this is Mac here and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. Today's session is really interesting and it's going to be really good for everyone to follow this basically because it's for knowledge building and we have a topic which is called what is the future for e-commerce? And my guest for today is Mr. Haris Aslam, the expert in e-commerce. Welcome Mr. Haris, how are you?
Thank you so much, Masroor. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm really nice and really great and looking forward to this session to
Same
interview
here.
a great
Same here.
personality like you who is an expert and I'm really honored to have you because I want to
Oh,
learn this
thank you.
subject. It's a
Thank you
favorite
so much.
subject of mine. So give a little
Well,
bit intro about
everyone,
yourself.
actually, everyone's favorite subject these days. And incredible times that we are living in. I have been born and brought up in Oman. I always lived in Oman for the longest period of my life. Briefly, I went to Pakistan for my engineering, but then that's very insignificant. Then I have been in the field of digital, right? Digital business models and digital marketing and digital transformation. Now these were small pockets that I was working on until I really got into the e-commerce world, and I was really honored and privileged to set up the biggest e-commerce player in Oman with the
Wow.
help of my last employer where I was working as an employee, and they supported my idea, and that I managed to get into the world of e-commerce. So back in 2012, I actually started this whole thing of e-commerce, which we understand is a very common thing now, but back then it wasn't that common, especially in this part of the world.
Mm,
Had to really go through a lot of education campaigns with the audience to get them on board. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey in the world of e-commerce. Today, what I do is that I help companies. Today, I work with a handful of 15, 20 organizations who I work with in getting them into e-commerce. So this is one part of my job role where I work today at Up Factory. I work as a chief e-commerce officer, and it's a very rare designation that you will find. You will hear about CEO, you will hear about COOs, but you will not hear a designation called chief e-commerce officer. So we are very specific about this e-commerce agenda, and we really like to work with companies who are embracing this change, and we work with them very closely to get them onto this channel. Yeah, and that's what I do.
so shall I let my followers know that you help people make their dreams a reality, bring the dreams to
Well,
reality?
I see. To me, it has become like something that I live with every day, and so much so what I have done in my individual capacity and as my company Apa Factory. I think it's more than a dream now. It is a reality. It is a significant part of your business now. You cannot operate without this business, without having a digital angle to your business.
Mhm.
It is becoming next to impossible for brands to operate. I have seen 3 months back, more than 80% of the businesses who didn't have a digital business model in place
Mhm.
struggled to even sell a $1 product in a day, a $1 product in a day. And
Mhm.
they were just running here and there, looking at the platforms who they had to then end up paying 15, 20% from their sale as a revenue share to just be there on that platform. So I think it's a need now. It's a need. If you are in retail business, you need to have a shop, right, on the road or in a mall.
Mhm.
Similarly, if you want to sell a product or a service, now you have to be on a digital channel. Either it is yours, which is what we stand for and which is what we push, or
Mhm.
if you use a platform, fine, do that, but at least do that. So I think that's a reality now. No one
Yeah,
can no one can escape from this anymore at all.
I think that's the beauty about being online and selling your products online, basically, because and it's helps you have a platform which you mentioned correctly. that we need to have a platform to sell products online and have an e-commerce channel which will help us promote our products. Wonderful. So that's really so
True.
nice of you. Let's get back to our questions we have related to e-commerce, which an expert
Sure.
like you would like to answer, and let share the knowledge about e-commerce with our audience who would like to learn this concept and maybe invest their time and their money in building e-commerce platforms for themselves. What do you
Sure.
think about it, right? Okay,
Yeah, sure. Looking forward to.
so my first question to you is what's happening in regards to COVID-19 related to e-commerce? What do you have to say on that?
Well, the numbers have grown big time. I think the market size of e-commerce has grown significantly in the last 3 or 4 months. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised, and based on the numbers that I read from McKinsey's and AT Kenry's and Motor Intelligence, these are 3, 4 channels that I follow the most. I believe that the numbers have tripled, and the market size has grown by 3x or 4x. The
Okay.
regional, I'm talking about the region because uh, GCC is my territory where I work the most, right? So
Hmm.
I keep track of news and everything with regards to this region the most. Obviously, we always keep an eye on what's happening in Singapore, where our headquarters is. I mean, the company where I work for, our headquarters is in Singapore, and then but then there is a different consultant who handles that territory. So I think the numbers have grown big time.
Right.
Benefited the platforms insanely. The likes of Amazon and Noon.com grown double fold or triple fold. But then I think there was this. Uh, it was like a blessing in disguise for e-commerce industry, I would say.
Hmm.
And if you extend that a little bit more, I think it was this whole COVID situation benefited the entire digital industry, the entire cashless industry, the
Hmm.
entire payments industry. We heard about the first fintech license being issued to Tawani only
Hmm.
a week or two back. I
Hmm.
think that COVID has worked as a catalyst to
Okay.
all of this what's happening today, and it will continue to do that. And yeah, so for digital professionals like me,
Hmm.
being a bit selfish, I think these times are extremely incredible for us.
Yeah, basically, whoever is running a business like you or different people I know who are into e-commerce and online softwares and stuff, it's a great time for them basically to make money online, right? So how do you?
See, I'll tell you, it's more than making money, which is not happening, by the way, these days, because there is a serious issue of cash flow with all the organizations in the world,
Mhm.
especially in this part of the world. There is a cash flow issue, and which is logical, right? The trade cycles stopped for a very good time, and now we have started seeing a little bit of that opening. I think
Mhm.
it's more than the engagement rate. So 6 months back, I really had to convince to engage into an e-commerce channel.
Mhm.
Today, I don't have to really convince them to engage into this channel. They have already made up their mind that they have to. I am sitting here and working with a mall based out of KL to completely digitize that mall, right?
Mhm. Okay.
And create a virtual mall for their mall itself. And this is one of the biggest malls in KL. So I did not have to convince them. They knew that this is the way forward. They were just looking for the right person to help them. And
So,
fortunately, we are the ones who got that opportunity. But this is what's happening with COVID.
okay. So coming back to my second question, which is a bit interesting, and I'm sure all the SMEs out there would like to know how that will help them, is how can an SME look at their e-commerce model? How can the SMEs basically, because they are the most affected people, I'm sure,
Yeah,
because of.
actually, to be honest, they have opportunities in two directions. They have an opportunity to be a part of a platform, and
Mhm.
they have an opportunity to have their own platform. And this is the right time to have their own platform.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months back or a year back, if a SME has to activate their own platform or their own website and their own mobile app and then launch it into the marketplace and then start promoting it, then they need a much higher spending to acquire a customer. So basically in our technical language we call customer acquisition cost. So a
I see.
customer acquisition cost would be very, very high because there is a certain percentage of potential audience available in the
Mm-hmm.
stream that you can capitalize on. But then if you look into today's time, there's a
Mm-hmm.
very large percentile of audience who are already there on the digital platforms looking for companies to sell the product to them. So you are there, you somehow reach out to them at a
Mm-hmm.
lower customer acquisition cost, and then you can achieve a transaction. So they can launch their own platforms, and then they don't have to invest heavily in creating their own websites and mobile apps, right? They can
Yeah.
actually use the platforms like App Factory or others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they can start their business at a very low cost
Mm-hmm.
model and then take it on from there, right?
Okay.
One more thing I would like to add here. There are a lot of SMEs who that are into not product selling business, but actually services selling business, and they are not realizing that e-commerce is for them also.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it is the case so. So if you are a company that perhaps you are into the networking business, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about those LAN cables and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your business primarily depends on selling door to door or when you go and meet someone and you close a deal and all of that. But then today is the time when actually you can promote your services, you can have a digital meeting with a customer. You don't need to go and meet the customer before a transaction is closed, and also you can create a mechanism on your website where you can allow your potential prospects to go. I'm just talking about one case study. Your client
Mm-hmm.
can go actually and select how long is their room size and what size of the cable they are looking for, what category of cable they are looking for, cat 5, cat 6, or whatever, and then do the transaction directly on the website. So once you have a booked order, you can go and exercise that. Now this is happening. This is
Okay.
not happening here in Oman, this is not happening in Dubai, this is not happening perhaps in Doha in Saudi, but this is happening in Malaysia, this is happening in Singapore, this is happening in US, probably this is happening in India and Pakistan as well. So this is what we need to.
So they are ahead of us in terms of planning and everything, right?
No, it's not about they. I think they are more mature markets. They have been into e-commerce for a very long time, right? Pakistan, India got into e-commerce what about 7, 8 years back. GCC
Mm-hmm.
got into e-commerce what about 8, 10 years back when Soup.com launched their platform in Dubai, and that's when everything started.
Mm-hmm.
Heads off to the person who did that, Ronald Mushawar. So
Okay.
I think we are very, very nascent and very new markets when it comes to e-commerce. But then our adoption has been extremely tremendous because of the use of internet that we have here. So we have one of the highest percent of internet usage in our countries, right? Where I'm talking about GCC region. So our adoption rate has been very high.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let us bring different industries into this platform as well. So how do you think that this e-commerce works differently for different industries like real estate, logistic companies, IT services, and so on, so on, and so on? So how does this e-commerce
Well,
work?
see, the thing is that I would like to say that no industry should think that they cannot accommodate an e-commerce business model into their business, right?
It is meant for
It's
everyone,
just
right?
it's made for everyone. It's
Okay.
just about how do you think. And see, one more thing. Every businessman or an entrepreneur, I would say a real estate CEO, right?
Mhm.
Or the CEO of a company that sells translation services, for example,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
And so on and so forth. You
Okay.
cannot just try and exercise these things at your cost, right?
Mhm.
So there is a learning curve, right? And every learning curve attracts an investment, which in business terminologies we call a loss.
Okay.
Any business owner has to minimize their losses at the start
Mm-hmm.
of a business model in order for them to generate profits. So one has to work with professionals who know this game, who
Mm-hmm.
have gone through this game and who have already exercised this game in the past so that your learning curves are reduced and you're always ahead of your learning curve. What's happening is, Masroor, that a lot of companies are making the mistake, and I would categorically say this, that they are making a mistake of thinking that e-commerce is just like their traditional business, which is not. It is not. It
Okay.
is as good as that you are a hospital owner and then
Mm-hmm.
one day you say that I will now run an airline. You cannot
Okay.
run an airline until unless you hire people who are already running an airline, right? So one has to understand that e-commerce is not something that you can just think of doing it and you can do it. No, it is a science. It is like any other business, it's a science, and one has to be correct about this science, that what works and what does not work. So I think this is a change that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Companies have to really come out and ask for help and say that yes, e-commerce is something that we just cannot do ourselves because we are seasoned retailers, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we need professionals to come on board and help us to do that.
Okay.
And this will make them go ahead of the curve, make less mistakes, and generate the desired business objectives or financial results sooner than later.
So where do you see the physical retailers if e-commerce is taking up the market really fast?
No, I don't see that physical retail will ever shut down. At least that I hope so.
Okay.
We still love to go and we still like to shop at the stores. I'm an advocate of e-commerce. I've been advocating e-commerce for the last 8 or 9 years of my life. But even today, for an outing, going to Carrefour is an entertaining exercise for me. Although I mean, there are not many platforms available in Oman where you can shop at the same experience as Carrefour, but I think physical retail will do more of a marriage with digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
What has been going on in the last 4 or 5 years is that physical retail, or let's say some stubborn physical retailers, and I don't mean to offend anyone here. It's just the way I'm trying to put across that they thought that they can survive without e-commerce, or they
Mm-hmm.
can survive without a digital transformation of their own company.
Okay.
But I think a lot of groups have passed that stage or that obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of people have stepped into their organizations who transformed their business, and I think now there is a very strong marriage going on between physical and digital.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow Jack Ma,
Yeah.
there are two leaders in the world, right? When it comes to the world of e-commerce, it's Jack Ma and Jeff Bezos. You won't
Yeah.
find Jeff Bezos talking about the marriage of physical and digital because he always tried to convert the physical into digital, and then he successfully does that. And hats off to him. He's like, you know, he's someone who we look upon to in our industry even when we are dreaming. But when you talk about Jack Ma, he always talks about marrying physical and digital. So
Mm-hmm.
he never talks about closing a physical store, but he always talks about how this physical store can be leveraged or can capitalize a digital channel and still continue to do their physical activities. So I think that is what is going to happen a lot more now. And the amount of businesses that I'm hearing are going online, the number of malls that I hear that are going digital in the next 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, I think that's incredible. That's incredible. A
That's
lot
phenomenal.
of more vacancies are going to come in this line of business, a lot of vacancies. And I would really request a lot of people who are out there, who are working as retailers, who are working as, in the traditional industry, to just start looking into how they can channel their career forward into the world of digital. Because the number of vacancies that we are going to see in e-commerce and in digital transformation, in digital marketing, in digital consultancy, and so on and so forth would be tremendous in the next few months.
Mashallah. So I'm sure. A lot of people would have got their answer for that, what we have been discussing about now. So coming back to another question, that is, what is that people should think of when they come up with digital business model idea? How should they look at the commercial viability of the same very important subject, which everything is going wrong about?
Well, I think a lot are going wrong about this. Let me put this very honestly and bluntly. A
Okay.
lot of entrepreneurs are coming up with their ideas and they don't do the financial viability of that idea, right? And this is happening. I have thought of an idea and I want to make an app for it and I want to just launch that app. There should be the other side of this app also, that how this will connect with the consumers, how this will see. Whenever we start a business or any business we start, we always think of a problem statement there and what problem statement we are addressing there. So a
Hmm.
lot of these products or a lot of these projects and these apps, these platforms that are launching, they may not necessarily solve a problem statement. You find that as a problem that may not be a problem. To understand that, you need someone to talk to you.
Okay.
You need someone who knows that how digital consumer behavior works. It's very different behavior from a traditional consumer behavior. A
Hmm.
digital consumer behavior may like to do something on the digital platform, but may not like to do something on the digital platform. But they like to do that in the physical environment. So these are a lot of learnings that people like us have gone through. And one needs to understand the financial viability of the business model. There has to be a simple math that should be in place.
Hmm.
Don't go overboard in spending. Don't invest so little that when you launch your idea, it has no it has no fuel to run that idea for even 6 months or a year, till the point you can start generating some sort of cash that can run your idea. So there has to be a financial viability, and that is again where there are professionals that one needs to talk to and do that financial viability, because that is not an expensive exercise. It's much better to spend $1,000 $2,000 today, do that exercise and not lose $50,000 in the future, right?
Yeah, that's you're totally correct on that. You should have a small investment, and you can put, like, as we all hear from our early days, that don't put all the eggs in the same basket. So you can just keep on making small investments of, as you said, right? Small investments, and then you can go for a bigger one rather than just going for a huge investment and then realizing that you have made a big blunder. Am I right?
True, true.
So our last question for the session today is how Up App Factory can assist in understanding the commercial viability of the project for anyone.
Well, to be honest, we are doing that with most of our clients, and we are kind of a company who doesn't take up a project if it is not financially viable for our client in the future. So we have two lines of businesses, to be honest. One line of business that we have is more of like standard apps that SME can go and then start their business online in $100 a month kind of a thing, which is nothing, right? If you launch your business with a 38 40 money real a month and you can't generate enough to cover that 40 reals and about 200 300 reals for marketing and then another 400 500 reals for your resources, then perhaps that's not the business idea that you should be into, honestly speaking. And I'm being again very frank about it. But then the other line of our business is that we work with a very large scale clients, and then we work with them on their digital transformation or their e-commerce, their launch of their e-commerce model. So that is where we do in-depth financial viability of how their business should behave in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years, and what are the factors that they should be looking at. It is not the detailed studies that the likes of KPMG would do or likes of PwC would do. It is more. confined to your digital business model, right?
Mm,
And it's a short one and a sweet one, and it's something that talks to you in numbers. That what are the potential numbers that you are looking at in the market? Like e-commerce business size in Oman, as far as my knowledge, or to the best of my knowledge, is around 250 million real money plus, and
yeah,
that's only from the reports that I read, right? So
okay.
that itself gives you a number that where you are heading, and that's not a small business size for a
Mhm,
4.5 million population, if I'm not wrong. Again, it's a very decent business size that you can eye, but then where is the majority of this business going, right?
mhm,
I would say 95% plus of this business is going outside the country, which is not the right thing to happen. And I'm someone who has been trying to bring that, or
Invest.
to generate that, or have that being transacted within the country as much as possible. So all of these factors needs to be looked at in your financial viability, whether your business, and obviously your ticket size. How
Mhm,
much is your concept being in demand in the market? There are some concepts which are completely new, right? And there is nothing that you can talk about in terms of financial projections, but you just have to judge from consumer behaviors of the other markets and how those behaviors can be replicated in this market. So there are a lot of factors, Masroor, actually. So it
mm,
completely depends from case to case. But yes, if the question is, how do we assist? Yes, we do assist. We work with them. We understand their own capital, capital stabilities, how much they can invest, what is their appetite of incurring a cash flow burn, at what rate, to what period, and all of that. So we do all of that.
fine. So finally, the last question. This is related to my field, my industry, which is the agency which you are in as well. But I want to know
Okay.
and learn and collaborate with you in a way that I can also build my own e-commerce website or an app or
Okay.
something. So how can you train me to become an e-commerce specialist, just like you, who's my ideal in this field of e-commerce and digitalization? How can you
Well,
train or
to
help me come up with this?
To be honest, I would say, see, if it is about you launching your own e-commerce business, then I would say that let's have a discussion on your product line. Let's understand that what kind of products you're targeting, what are their gross margins, what kind of audience are available in your territory that you're looking at targeting, what is the size of that audience, how many orders you can do per day, how much you have to spend to generate those number of orders, and I mean the marketing spend. What would be your resource size, how many people you need to hire, and how your case will become a profitable business case, right? I'm very soon, by the way, launching.
Okay, what
I'm
would be
very
the
soon.
step I should take? What would be the first step I should take to build this e-commerce website here in Pakistan?
First step would be to
From my
understand your passion,
Mhm.
that what product or service you would like to trade on a digital platform.
Okay,
50 years back, or 100 years back, or 25 years back, if someone wants to start a business, especially a trading business, I would say, right? Or even a service business, what they would do is that they will think about that, hey, I want to start, excuse me, I want to start a shop that sells clothes, right?
Mhm.
Then I would start looking at my sourcing channels. Then I would start looking at where should I open the shop? Should that be in a market, or should that be in a mall? What kind of budget do I have to open it in a mall? Or what kind of budgets do I have if I open? Because at that time, or let's say 25, 30 years back, having a shop on a Rui High Street was also not a cheap affair. It was one of the most expensive shop to take, right? At
True,
that time, 25 years back or 20 years back.
true.
So one needs to know all these factors based on what they want to do are the first steps. This is the first step. Second step is to talk to people like me, right?
Okay,
Work with people like me so that we can work with you on making this a success, right? We may tell you that you just need a simple platform from a factory. open your shop at $100 and start your business. Don't waste your time on anything else because your model is very simplified model. It's a
Okay.
very common business model, but the products that you're selling, for example, Masroor, that if you tomorrow plan to sell only
Mm-hmm.
Bakhur in Oman, only Bakhur in Oman, there
Mm-hmm.
is not even a single, as again, to the best of my knowledge, there is not even a single platform, a successful one, that sells all
Bakula.
types of Bakhur in Oman.
Okay.
And that solves a problem there that if anyone in Oman wants to buy a Bakhur, this is the platform where they can go, bakhur.om, and they can buy all types of Bakhurs from there. So there is no one there. So it's a very simple model in the end of the day. You are buying Bakhur from someone and you are selling. Or you have a marketplace where you have about 100, 200 Bakhur sellers on a platform and they're selling Bakhurs. So that's the simple first step, that you know that you have to sell Bakhur in Oman where the audience is looking for that. And then you go for a simple platform, spend $150 a month to that platform, spend about $1,000, $2,000 on marketing and resources, and start selling. And it's
Wonderful.
easy.
That's wonderful. So I'm sure I'm going to be connecting with you for this basically because I am really much interested and excited to have my own e-commerce channel where I can bring across my different friends and people to join me in this venture of mine. Thank you so much,
But
Mr.
to
Harris.
you, I will charge a lot, huh? To you, I will charge a lot.
Sorry?
To you, I will charge a lot.
Well, we are going to talk about the financial aspects together,
For sure,
inshallah.
for sure. I'm just kidding.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Harris, for
Thank you
coming
so much, Mr. Thank you.
time and your precious time and for my session as my guest speaker today to talk
Pleasure.
on a very important subject, which is e-commerce and digitalization. So, guys, let's say a big thank you to Mr. Harris Aslam for sharing his knowledge and his expertise related to e-commerce. So I'm sure a lot of people must
Thank
have
you.
got their answers for the questions which I have put across Mr. Harris today. So if anybody wants to connect with him, I am the right person. So I can connect you to him easily with all the details. I'm just kidding. You can just go on the description area. I'm going to be mentioning all his details, his social media links, and his important details where you can connect with him through his email, his phone numbers, and stuff, so he can teach you, advise you, and educate you. That's really important for this session. Thank you once again, Mr. Haris Aslam. I wish you all the best for your
Thank you so much.
future goals, future dreams to be successful, and you be a successful real model for all of us sitting out here. Thank you once again.
Thank
Bless
you.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Thank you so much. Assalamu
Please,
alaikum.
a small shout out for Mac Vlogs.
Oh, do visit Mac Vlogs. I've been going through your Mac Vlogs and they are amazing. I see the best part about your Mac Vlogs is that you are bringing everyone to this platform and we are learning so much from it. Thank you so much, Mr.
That's my pleasure. I just want to bring wonderful people, wonderful minds, and a lot of ideas to be shared between all the people out there. So thank you so much once again. So God
Thank
bless you.
you. Thank you. See you,
And
Mr. See you soon.